Okay, imagine this. You're living, working in another country for months.
Right.
Right. Getting totally immersed, new culture, amazing food, the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then you come home, and what do you miss the most? Well, for our friend Adil, after 6 months living in Italy, it wasn't the pasta, surprisingly. It was Saudi coffee.
Saudi coffee, specifically.
Yeah, exactly. Not just, any coffee. It had to be Saudi coffee, that specific blend, the way it's made. And that little detail, missing a certain type of coffee, well, it actually opens up this huge question. How do businesses operate across borders? How do they handle all these different tastes? And, how does that shape the world economy? That's precisely what we're going to deep dive into today. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources, business text, real-world examples to really unpack it all.
Yeah, and our mission for you today is really to pull out the key nuggets, the most important bits from all this material. So by the end of this, you'll have a pretty swift, solid grasp of this huge, sometimes kind of surprising world of global commerce. We're talking multinationals, global organizations, the whole picture.
Absolutely. And when we're done, you won't just understand what these international businesses do. You'll get to how they do it and the, frankly, massive impact they have on, well, everything. The stuff you buy,
Yeah.
jobs.
Even the taste of your morning coffee, going back to Adil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So where do we start? I guess with the foundation, right? The multinational company, the MNC. We generally know they operate in different countries, but the really fascinating part is how they manage it all, the different strategies.
Right, and there's a key choice they face. Do you treat the whole world as basically one market, or do you adapt? The global strategy is all about consistency. Think of like a big dairy company. They make pretty much the same milk or cheese everywhere, maybe tiny tweaks for local rules, but that's it.
Okay, so it's about being the same everywhere.
Yeah, and the genius isn't just brand recognition, it's the huge economies of scale. You save billions by standardizing how you make things, how you market them.
Billions. Wow. Okay, so efficiency is key there. But there's a downside, isn't there? Standardize too much, and you might just miss the mark locally. Which brings us to the other approach, the multinational strategy. This sounds more like, well, Adil's coffee situation. It's about treating each country, each market, as unique.
Exactly. So companies develop products, marketing, everything really tailored to local customs, tastes, how people buy things. You see this a lot with, say, big fast food chains, right? Their menus can be really different depending on where you are. India versus the US, totally different offerings.
Right. I've seen that.
And you might ask, why go through all that hassle, all that expense?
Yeah, why bother?
Well, the benefits are pretty big, not just for the company either. For us as consumers, it means way more choice, often lower prices than if everything was made just domestically. And for people looking for work, it creates jobs, career paths that just wouldn't exist otherwise.
That makes sense. And it's not just economic, is it? Our sources suggest that when countries do business together through these MNCs, it can actually help build bridges. Better understanding, communication, respect between different cultures.
Yeah, those economic ties can be powerful motivators for keeping things friendly, which is, a big plus for global stability.
Okay, but let's connect that to the bigger picture, because it's not all positive, right? There are drawbacks.
Oh, definitely. You need to be aware of those. A really powerful MNC can become, well, dominant in a host country, and that creates dependency. Local workers rely on them for jobs, consumers for goods.
So the MNC's decisions suddenly have this huge impact locally.
Absolutely. On prices, what people buy, even government policy sometimes. It really is a double-edged sword.
That dependency point is, quite concerning. How do countries push back on that or try to manage that risk?
That's where government regulation comes in. Host countries often set rules like requiring companies to hire locally or share technology. Sometimes they even insist on local partnerships. It's all about making sure the benefits get shared and one foreign company doesn't get too powerful.
Okay, so understanding those risks for the host country is really important. It shows the balancing act involved. But, okay, backing up a bit, how do these companies even start operating internationally? What are the ways they, get their foot in the door?
Right, and there's a whole range of options here. They vary a lot in how much money and risk are involved. Take licensing, for example. It's pretty low-key. A company basically rents out its intangible property, could be a secret recipe, a patent, a brand name, even just a logo. Someone else pays a fee or royalty to use it.
Ah, so like seeing a sports team logo on a hat made by a totally different company.
Exactly like that. That's licensing. The financial investment is low, so the potential return is too. But hey, so is the risk.
Okay, and similar to that, you have sponsorships, right? another fairly low-risk way to get your name out there internationally. Our sources mentioned Eniom, that huge new city project in Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah, EOM.
They just announced a big 4-year sponsorship deal with the Asian Football Confederation, the AFC.
So that's about getting the brand seen, building association.
Absolutely. Brand visibility. Then you move up a level in involvement with franchising. This is more involved. An organization signs a contract with people or companies in other countries. They get the right to use the company name, its business processes, but in a very specific way.
So like those global coffee shops or fast food places we talked about?
Precisely. The idea is they look and feel like the parent company. But crucially, they often adapt things, marketing, maybe some food items, packaging, to fit the local culture and rules.
Makes sense. And our sources had a good example, Subway, the sandwich chain. They announced a new franchise partnership back in November 2021 with a Saudi company, Abdulaziz Al Co., to expand in the kingdom. Right. And it's worth noting, both licensing and franchising involve royalties, those regular payments. But licensing is usually about, say, a manufacturing process or some IP, whereas franchising is often about selling the whole package, the product, the service, the entire business model.
Got it. Licensing the how-to, franchising the whole shop.
Kind of, yeah. Then finally, you get to joint ventures. This is a much deeper commitment. 2 or more companies decide to team up on a specific business project.
Sharing resources.
Exactly. Sharing things like raw materials, shipping, management know-how, production facilities. It's super popular, especially for big, complex projects like manufacturing, where you really need that local knowledge.
And these aren't just theories, right? The execution is key.
Yeah.
Our sources gave some really interesting examples, especially from the Middle East, like that 2009 joint venture between Ma'aden, the Saudi Arabian mining company, and Alcoa, the U.S. aluminum giant.
Yep, that's a big one. And another mention was between Dusur, Saudi Aramco, and Doosan from South Korea for a huge casting and forging plant in Saudi Arabia.
And sometimes these joint ventures tie directly into national strategies, don't they?
Absolutely. Think about the March 2022 preliminary deal mentioned between SAMI, Saudi Arabian Military Industries, and Boeing. That's a perfect illustration. It connects directly to Saudi Arabia's goal, Saudi Vision 2030, to develop more products and services inside the country instead of just buying everything from abroad.
That really ties it all together nicely, how business moves can sync up with national ambitions. Okay, so doing business across borders, lots of strategies, different ways to enter. It sounds incredibly complex. What does this mean for, like, the bigger picture? Global trade overall.
It is complex, and that's why you need organizations to help manage it all, bring some order. Luckily, they exist. When you think about just the sheer amount of stuff being traded globally, the complexity, you realize you need a referee, right? A facilitator. The first big one is the World Trade Organization, the WTO.
Ah, yes, the WTO came about in 95.
That's right, 1995. It's basically the global rule book for trade. And it handles disputes. It pushes for more trade, tries to lower barriers, enforces agreements between its members, about 160 countries, covering like 95% of world trade.
And Saudi Arabia joined in 2005, our sources noted.
Correct.
So it's not just stepping in when things go wrong. It's about setting the rules up front to stop problems.
Exactly. Preventing disputes is as important as settling them. The challenge, of course, is balancing national interests with this push for freer global trade.
And their goals are pretty clear, right? Lower tariffs, get rid of import quotas, make it easier for banks and insurance companies to operate across borders.
And helping developing countries grow their economies, too. That's a key part of their mandate.
Okay, so WTO is the rule book and referee. Then there's the International Monetary Fund, the IMF.
Yep, the IMF. Over 180 member nations now. Its main job is promoting economic cooperation. How? By keeping the system of world trade and exchange rates orderly, stable. It started back in 1946, right after the war, when everyone realized economies were getting much more tangled up together.
And Saudi Arabia joined in 57. The IMF seems crucial because you can imagine, right? If countries could just slash their currency value whenever they wanted to make their exports cheaper.
Chaos, absolute chaos. You'd get trade wars, everyone trying to undercut everyone else, those beggar-thy-neighbor policies.
Right, so the IMF, by providing this cooperative framework, helps prevent that destructive cycle, keeps things stable, stops that race to the bottom.
Precisely. Then the third big one is the World Bank.
Also started around the same time, after World War II, originally for rebuilding.
Exactly, 1944. Its focus now is different, though. It primarily gives economic aid to less developed countries, funding crucial infrastructure things like communication systems, transport networks, power plants, the basics needed for development.
And it has specialized arms too, doesn't it? Nearly 190 members now, like the International Development Association for Loans to Developing Nations and the International Finance Corporation helps private businesses in places with fewer resources.
That's right. And our sources also point out that Saudi Arabia actively supports the World Bank's work on ending poverty and boosting global prosperity.
Okay, so we've got the companies, the strategies, the global organizations keeping order. But international business isn't just about money and rules, is it? It can actually make a real difference on social issues, too.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a powerful force for good. There was a fascinating example in our sources, the Safe Water Team, or SWT.
Ah, yes, the water filtration. Tell us about that.
So they tackled this huge problem, lack of safe drinking water, especially in parts of Africa. And what's really inspiring is their solution. It's simple, it's sustainable. They provide these water filtration units made from natural stuff, no complex maintenance, no repairs needed.
That's brilliant. Simple but effective. And they partner locally, right? It's not just dropping off filters.
Exactly. It's a smart CSR, corporate social responsibility approach. They work with communities. They pick a community, find a local leader to be project manager, who then gets someone to teach people how to use the filters, about hygiene. It ensures local buy-in, real commitment.
So it becomes the community's project, too.
Yes. And connecting this back, it goes beyond just clean water. It actually helps foster entrepreneurship. When people aren't sick from bad water, they're healthier. They can work, start businesses, support their families better, build stronger communities.
Wow.
It really shows how business initiatives, when done right, can spark much broader positive change in society.
That's a really powerful example. And it makes you think, too, about how different places tackle similar issues, like how Saudi Arabia is dealing with its own water needs through massive desalination plants and setting targets in Saudi Vision 2030 to cut water use and rely more on renewables.
Right. It shows you need both these kinds of focused global initiatives and national-level strategies to deal with fundamental needs like clean water.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. We've journeyed through this whole world of international business today. We unpacked what makes a multinational company tick, right? That tension between having one single global strategy versus, adapting locally, like those restaurant chains, changing their menus. We looked at the different ways companies step out internationally, from those lower risk things like licensing or sponsorships. NEOM and the ASC was a good example there.
Right, and franchising too, like Subway expanding in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and then the deeper partnerships, the joint ventures, like Ma'aden and Alcoa, or Sammy and Boeing, which tied into national goals.
And we didn't stop just with the companies. We looked at that vital backbone, the global trade infrastructure, the WTO acting as that rulebook in settling fights, the IMF keeping exchange rates stable, preventing those damaging trade wars.
So important.
And the World Bank providing that critical aid for development. They're kind of the unseen framework holding the global marketplace together.
Absolutely. And finally, we explored how international business can be about more than just the bottom line, that social responsibility aspect. Like the Safe Water Team, such an inspiring example of providing a sustainable solution, clean water, but also boosting entrepreneurship, showing how global efforts and national solutions can work together.
It really does show that international business is, well, so much more than just deals and transactions. It's this dynamic mix of cultures, economies, global cooperation, all interconnected. And it leaves you with a question, doesn't it?
Sure.
When you think about that cup of coffee, a Dill Mist, that specific Saudi coffee, or really any product you use, how many layers of this global interconnectedness are hidden just beneath the surface? And how does your own daily life shape and get shaped by this huge, complex web of international relations? Something to think about.